So I've finished soldering all the cells on the top here to complete the pack. This again is the positive terminal of the pack. So each group of cell is interconnected to have 3 groups of cells in series. Here is the bus bars that are interconnecting the first and second row, and on the other side you have the same that are connecting the second and third row together. This is sticking out a bit, about 1/4 of an inch. I did end up I did grind them down a bit using a grinder, just so that to make sure that they stick out less than 1/4 of an inch. And the reason for that is what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of plywood here on the end. I'll glue it on. I'll drill 4 holes through here so that the bus bars have space, and I'll glue this flush onto here. And being that these are less than 1/4 of an inch, and this is 1/4 of an inch plywood, they won't protrude. Still, this is a little bit dangerous, and possibility of creating a short circuit on these. So I'm going to grind these down a bit so that they're smooth. Right now there's a rough edge on here, so using a little Dremel tool, I'll go ahead and smooth all of these bus bars down. Battery's about to be dead. I need to put that on the charger. So that's good. And now what I'm going to do is I'll put some liquid tape on this here. I'll put 2 or 3 coats just to make sure that I can't create a short circuit on these bus bars. Okay, so we're going to let that dry, then put another coat or maybe 2. In the meantime, what I'll do is I'll put holes in this to be able to put this on. So when I return, I should be ready to put the plywood on, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so I have the battery pack on its end, so it's easier to work with. So as you can see, all the bus bars here, zoom in here, all the bus bars have now been properly sealed up with liquid tape. And I also prepared the piece of plywood. So I drilled the holes and I made a notch here for the terminal on the top. So let's see if that fits. And it does perfectly. So to secure that on, I'm going to use what I've used throughout the other steps, which is this automotive glue. Just position this back on. Now, to make sure that that's held on properly, I'm going to put some tape on this here just to hold it in place. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to flip it upside down so that all the weight stays onto the piece of plywood. And there you go. So I'll let that set there with the weight of the batteries on there. So now you can see here, this over here, these are the negative bus bars. And as we have on the other side, we have the bus bars that are interconnecting the top 2. So now I have to get the negative terminal, all of these, to the top to make a connection. similar to what I have on the other side. So what I've decided to do is to use 6 gauge copper, which I've bent, as you can see here. So now when I'm doing this, it's dangerous. If I touch this to over here, I'm basically doing a short across these two groups of cells. So before I start playing around too much, I'm going to put some liquid tape on these also, and that way it'll avoid doing short circuit. But I'll just show you how that's going to look like. Being very careful not to touch the bus bars. If I were to drop that on there, it'd be quite a disaster. I'd create a short circuit, and most likely I'd burn all the fuse wires on the terminal. So as you can see, it ends there. It's not quite long enough to get to the top, but I'm going to use, similar to what I have on the other side, a piece of flat copper, and I'm going to arrange that like this. And so there you go. We'll have all of the 4 connections onto the bus bar here, bring it to the top, and that will make my negative connection. So that's it for now. I'm going to take all this off. I'll do the same on this side as I did on the other side, liquid tape these. Then I'll show you how I'm going to put these solder all this together.